I get a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, and a lot of people coming up to the track asking me, what kind of timing do I need to run in my engine? Let's figure it out. All right, so I'm going to cover some theory, my theory, what I do, what I recommend, and I'm going to show you specific numbers, timing numbers that I would start out with for different applications. From LS, big block Chevy, small block Chevy, Hemi, small block Ford, big block Ford, Gen 3 Hemi. I'll start showing you a bunch of numbers of where I would generally start with that are going to be good, safe numbers for you to start with. But let's go through how I come across that process. All right. So let's start talking about the number one thing that I think of and how I relate to this of how I approach timing. All right. This is in the boosted world only or in the NA world. I consider the boosted world the same as NA in this regard. All right. Now, nitrous doesn't freaking count. Nitrous doesn't count because nitrous changes the way the fuel burns in the combustion chamber. Totally different deal. Totally different deal. Now, how does a boosted engine work? I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question here. All right. NA, we find this perfect timing number that the engine makes at perfect torque, and we can even find that perfect timing at RPM. All right. Now, that's naturally aspirated. And I'll go over flame fronts. I'm going to go over combustion chambers, piston design, other stuff like that. So hold on. But the first primary important thing of how I think about this is this, and this will make people infuriatingly mad. I'm going to probably have 10,000 comments on this one alone. All right. In the NA engine, we've just determined NA, what this engine needs for peak timing, where it runs the most efficiently, which means that the spark is making all the way across the flame front, sparks perfectly, ignition is perfect, combustion chamber or combustion flame front and cylinder pressures are perfect. Okay. Now, let's do this boosted. We are adding more air and more fuel. What is it that has changed that requires less timing? Ding, 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 ding. Seriously, what is it that we're changing? All we're doing is putting more air and more fuel in it. Forget about temperature. We're not talking about that right now. Don't get your panties all bunched up about temperature. This is just the theory of how I think about this, all right? So, all things said and done, same temperature. Let's pretend it's the same temperature. All we are doing is adding more fuel and more air. Why do we need to decrease the timing? Why? We don't. Insert comment here. Go ahead. But you might want to wait until I explain where we're coming from. All right? You don't. If the fuel has the capability of resisting detonation, the flame front has really never changed. If anything, more fuel, more air in the cylinder would possibly, theoretically, require more timing. So as boost increases, i.e. the airflow and fuel flow into the combustion chamber, theoretically, it would at minimum stay the same amount of timing as it was NA. And theoretically, it realistically would have to possibly go up because it would possibly take a little more time to ignite all of that fuel. All right. There is nothing in the combustion chamber that has changed. The only thing we have done is we've added more fuel, more air. If the fuel has the capability of resistance to detonation and pre-ignition, I'll go over pre-ignition and detonation. If it has that capability, i.e. octane rating, it will take the same amount of timing because nothing mechanically has changed in the combustion chamber. All right, so let me show you real quickly in a picture. Now, the one thing that I always notice on any of the diagrams, almost every diagram in the world is always based off a Hemi combustion chamber, where the spark plug is right dead in the middle of the chamber. They got two valves, a valve here and a valve here. Well, not every engine in the world is a Hemi, okay? But we can talk about that real quickly. So we're going to do this from the wedge side of things, all right? Because the wedge side of things is actually a little more complicated to understand. So we have this combustion chamber. We're going to pretend that the piston is flat. Okay. Going to pretend the piston is flat. We got this combustion chamber right here, very poorly drawn. And actually, sorry, so that would be cylinder head. So let's draw a more accurate combustion chamber. Okay, and spark plug is coming in from this side. Okay, so this is your spark plug. Now, as the piston is coming up before top dead center, this is all basic mechanics, okay? This sparks, causing the flame front to go from this side of the combustion chamber over to this side of the combustion chamber. So that is how fast our flame front is crossing the combustion chamber. Now, when we put more air in, okay, so this would be the intake valve side, we put more air, more fuel. What has changed here? The spark plug's still the same distance away. The combustion chamber is still the exact same shape. The piston is still exactly the same. What would physically change? Nothing. This thing will take the same amount of timing. If the fuel is tolerant to it, will take the same amount of timing regardless of what boost or what fuel, air, regardless of any of those things, okay? There's a little deviation in air-fuel ratios and stuff, so I'm covering a real big general bubble here, okay? There are little specific nuances that will affect or change, little things. Don't get all hung up on that, okay? We're just talking about a really well-running engine compared to a really well-running boosted engine, okay? NA to boosted. So this flame front has never changed. We have just added more air, more fuel. Requires the same amount. So now, that is how I approach everything. I would like to, and usually do, run engines, and I've run engines so many times for over the last 25, 30 years now. I know what this stuff wants. I know what it wants to be naturally aspirated. Now, this is, like for instance, in the SMX engine, come over here and look at this. Now, on the SMX engine, this is the actual piston and rod out of the wagon, right here, all right? This video is coming out 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, I'm gonna go through a whole diagnostic, because we have taken the engine, the SMX engine out of the wagon, and I'm gonna show you everything about it, because we're gonna do a little diagnosis on from the screw dropping in to how it's performed after all those passes. So Thursday, that one's coming up. But let's talk about this right now, all right? So you notice this piston in mine is a conical dish piston. So this would, as it comes up in the combustion chamber, if the combustion chamber was perfectly flat, it would force all air from the edges into here. Spark plug is on this side right here. Here's the intake valve. So it would force all air and fuel right in the central location, sparks right there, and would come out, okay? That's how way I designed this thing. So your compression ratio, dome design, combustion chamber design, if you look here, this is we look at this one where the spark plug's in it. This is a soft chamber. So what we call a soft chamber because we have taken quench out of it, all right? I'll do a very quickly, I'm not gonna get real deep into the woods. Your quench is either absolutely perfect or don't have any, period. Think about that later, but quench is either perfect or none at all. This is none at all, all right? There is no real quench area. Everything is designed to make fuel and air go back into the center of the piston, center of the combustion chamber area right here. So the combustion chamber makes it do that. The piston allows it to do that, to make everything go into the center, spark right here. So what all that means is I will run this engine, SMX engine, your Ford engine, your LS engine, I don't care what engine it is, naturally aspirated in the parts that it has, in the combustion chamber design, the compression ratio, the piston design, see what it wants, naturally aspirated. Where it makes peak power, peak torque, and peak horsepower, what those timing numbers are. Because it will be, if the fuel is tolerant, it will be the same, just like up here, because nothing has changed when you put boost to it. Now, if you change the piston, you change the combustion chamber, you can't just randomly take any engine, throw a compression ratio at it, put a great big dome on it. All those things don't matter. The only thing that matters is you get your base timing number off your NA number, non-boosted number, with the parts you're using. That's going to give you, this is my high side, this would be optimal peak timing if the fuel was 100% tolerant, if air temperature didn't affect anything, if AFR didn't affect anything, if nothing affected anything else, if everything was exactly the same, the only thing we did was add more fuel, more air, it would have this timing to it. Okay, so that is the baseline of where we're going to be at. So that is exactly how I think about it, approach this, how I want people to approach it if they really were doing a really good job on dyno and stuff. I don't dyno every single thing NA. I will never dyno. I've already done this on my engine. I know what it takes, so I don't bother doing it ever again because the SMX, SMLs, they're all exactly the same. I know where they're at. Okay, so that is what why we're doing that. All right, so let me erase this thing right here. Now let me draw so you can see this just a little bit better, over exaggerated, of how I design this stuff and why probably my engines would take so much more timing than other engines. Okay, because in a sense, well, in a very literal sense, we are making the combustion chamber less efficient because we're making it safer and more tolerant to high cylinder pressures, because fuels is the problem. Because we're making it more resistant to detonation, definitely pre-ignition. Let me cover up what's pre-ignition. So pre-ignition, okay, so pre-ignition is very hard to control, very hard to monitor, really can't monitor it. It is the most destructive. Pre-ignition is astronomically destructive. What pre-ignition is as piston is coming up, this is very quick, very brief, okay? As the piston and connecting rod are coming up, there's some little hot thing, some little thing that is making it spark early, way earlier than what it's supposed to. So the spark plug is not what's sparking, okay? It's not sparking, there's something else in there. There's a real hot point. The spark plug is glowing hot red for some reason, too lean, whatever. There's a problem in the combustion chamber and it is making it spark early, which is pre-ignition, causes astronomical destruction. Very, very hard on parts. Don't do that. That is not very common because you do need to have something in the combustion chamber that is red hot that is causing it to spark early, causing it to ignite early, okay? Very uncommon. You really don't have much in the lines of pre-ignition unless you have some kind of problem with the spark plug, some kind of thing like that. A lot of times if you are too lean, in lean condition, and you nip a spark plug, we nip spark plugs all the time with nitrous. Nitrous guys do that all the time. Boosted guys do it too when you get a little too aggressive on the tune-up. And what it does is it kind of has a little perpetual circle. It just keeps on accelerating because it starts heating up the spark plug too hot. So it gets red hot, and then it can do pre-ignition, and it can just keep on multiplying, and then there's major problems when that spark plug turns into a glow plug. Bad deal, okay? Now, so our normal deal that we're always looking at is detonation. Is that right? Sure. Is that right? Is that spelled right? Detonation is when the spark plug, all right, the spark plug has already sparked. This is our combustion chamber, okay? Has already sparked, and the flame front has not gone all the way across. Has not been one continuous equal like you see in the Hemi spark plugs, the Hemi pictures that they always show. They always show this really nice little, here's a valve, here's a valve, here's a combustion chamber. They always show this really nice equal, boom. Okay, really nice equal. Okay. But what's happened, which is why it is very hard to detonate a Hemi engine. It just is, because with proper design, dome or dish or flat top, it's really, there's no little hidden pockets, there's no little areas where on the wedge this sparks over here, and for some reason over here it has a random uncontrolled explosion here. It's not one uniform consistent burn down like that. It's like boosh, and then for some reason, whatever reason it might be, not enough fuel quality, octane number 1. The fuel is not tolerant to it. Cylinder pressure, residual cylinder heat makes it explode over here before this spreads to the whole thing. Got that? So that is making a little minor explosions, i.e. knock, detonation, when there's a little one over here. Okay? That is detonation. That can be very detrimental. You can get away with, some engines can run with some knock. Most engines can run with knock. Usually it's not going to do catastrophic damage until it gets excessive. Okay? That's why we have knock sensors. Trailblazer has knock sensor. Yes, I know how to use knock sensor. Yeah, I know how to program them. The last time we showed a video where I was talking about the knock sensors on the big black Hemi debacle, already know how to do it. Yeah, they've been around for a million years. No, they haven't been on that particular engine, which is not really a Hemi engine. Not really. It doesn't have a Hemi combustion chamber. It has a type of wedge middle spark plug combination deal. But anyways, yes, know how to do all that stuff. And it can measure it. And this is a audible sound. You'd actually hear this, feel this, and can detect it. Okay? But the only reason that pops up is, number 1 reason is because of fuel resistance to detonation, i.e. octane. Okay? Now there's probably, I'm not a fuel guy. I don't own a fuel company. Don't care. I'm just telling you what it is it's doing. I'm not a fuel company. I don't know. Don't care. That's somebody else's business. There's probably some little things, just like oil. Blah, 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 blah. I'm an engine builder. I'm just telling you what I observe, what I know, and what we practice, okay? So there's probably some little things in there that can help in fuel. But the number 1 thing is fuel octane and its resistance to detonate under cylinder pressure and cylinder temperature. All right, got it. All right, so the other thing that can do it secondarily is, and this is AFR, your actual rich lean condition. The richer the cylinder, the cooler the cylinder. The cooler the cylinder and richer the cylinder, the less likely it is to detonate. The hotter or leaner, the more likely it is to detonate. And that is still only a fuel related issue. You're changing what is going on, you're changing the temperature basically in the cylinder. That's why air fuel ratio will also do that. But the number 1 thing is the capacity of the fuel to resist detonation. All right, so we've gone over all those things. Now I'm going to show you something that nobody else is willing to ever share. No engine builder typically ever wants to do anything, but I will give you a general timing number that I would use in my engines. What this means is, on your engine, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to start you out safe and low, because if we look right here, this little spark plug in the hole right here, this tells all. That spark plug tells you every single thing you need to know. I'm going to give you some baseline numbers. It is up to you to understand how to read a spark plug. It's up to you to understand how to read your data logs. It's up to you to understand how your engine's running to determine what your peak timing numbers are for real. If no engine in the world makes more horsepower when it detonates. It is physically impossible. It cannot make more horsepower detonating. It does not work that way, because the whole point is it's not making a nice clean burn all the way across the combustion chamber. It's making some kind of bull crap, little bit of burn here and then some missed time burn over there. Just by the sheer nature and physics of it, it cannot make more down pressure. It's physically impossible. So you cannot make more horsepower with the engine detonating. You can make more horsepower all the way up to the point of detonation, up to that threshold, but you can't make more horsepower doing it. So it'll never make more horsepower. It'll never run as good when it's detonating. So we know that we want to go to our baseline is run at NA, see what it's happiest at NA. Then we'll know that that's our max peak. We'll just play it safe and go down below. Most all the time, big block Chevrolets, okay, with 10-to-1 compression ratio on gas, okay, and I'm just going to start off at like a 20 pounds of boost number on gas, so 20 psi, and you guys can kind of extrapolate this out yourself. I can't go over every timing number for every engine, for every boost level. It's going to take too long, okay? Generally, on this, in a non-intercooled form, I would probably be at like 28 degrees conventional head, okay? That's conventional. And if it's intercooled, I would probably be upwards of 32 for intercooled, okay? That's big block Chevrolet. Write it down. If you call me up, I'm gonna tell you the exact same freaking thing. So just start from there, all right? If your compression ratio is higher, your base compression ratio is higher, go down probably a couple degrees per half a compression ratio point. So probably start out at like 26 degrees if it's 11-to-1. Start out with, if it's 8-to-1, you could probably start out a couple degrees higher, all right? Now, your LS engine, okay? LSs are all freaking over the place, and it all really is dependent on what your base compression ratio is. My boosted engines, I'm generally gonna be 10-to-1 again. Can we go more? Yes. Will we go more? Yes. Am I talking about more right now? No, okay? So don't get your panties all bunched up because, oh, my grandpa in 1934 with his LS engine, he did this, did that, and he had a 14 degrees of timing and it blew up. I don't care, okay? It's not relevant to what we're talking about. So LS and my kind of stuff, because we would always have a soft chamber in all of my engines, so I would be a little bit careful. But let's say again, 20 psi, non-intercooled, a really good safe spot would probably be about 16 degrees typically, okay, non-intercooled. And I would probably be intercooled. Now this is gas, okay? Methanol is different. Methanol is more tolerant to detonation. You can get away with some more timing, point blank. Every engine platform there is, you put methanol in it, it's a little more tolerant to detonation, okay? As long as it's rich. Okay, 18 degrees, intercooled. All right, there we go. Now, Ford, small block Fords, I would probably be about 18 and 20, all right, for SBF, all right. BBF, we're gonna be this is all wedge style stuff, so a big block Ford wedge engine, man, if you ask me and you're in that 20 pounds of range, I'm probably gonna tell you about 24, 26, and keep in mind, don't get your panties all bunched up. I like saying that a lot because people just get so upset. I'm giving very general, broad guidelines with the disclaimer, it's your engine, you're responsible to figure it out. I'm just giving you some guidelines of where I would recommend stuff to start, which is generally a pretty safe spot. All right. That's big block Ford. Let's go Gen 3 Hemi. Whoops, that sucks. Gen 3 Hemi. We would be, honestly, we're probably about that same range. The big block Chevrolet is the one that ends up having a lot. Small block Chevrolets will have a lot too. So I would probably be, I'd probably start this out safe. I think all these numbers would end up more with, if you're just at 20 pounds of boost, I think they would end up being a little bit more when you have the perfect timing, everything, or perfect tune-up, everything's good, cylinders are happy. There's that. Now, on the big block Chevrolet, we already showed you that. Now, we'll go right to a small block Chevrolet. And now a small block Chevrolet with a conventional head. The head does matter because combustion chambers matter. Again, go here. Combustion chambers matter. So if it's got a softened chamber, 23 degree head is what I'm going to base this on. Not talking about a 15 degree, 18 degree. Each one of those heads in smaller, more efficient combustion chambers. Smaller, more efficient combustion chambers would require what? Less timing, okay? They don't need as much timing. Inefficient chambers, big block Chevrolet, conventional head, small block Chevrolet require more. I would definitely be in the probably 24 right there. This is good gas. I'm sorry. This is all based on a good gas, like a good race gas, okay? This is not some pump gas, cheaper gas, all right? I would start out there. And actually maybe a little bit less because these tend to be picking on gaskets if you don't. 26 to 28. I have had conventional small block Chevrolet, 400 cubic inch, 23 degree iron head, iron block, 9-to-1 compression ratio with, and it made 20 pounds of boost with a ProCharger, non-intercooled on race gas, and it took 40 degrees of timing to make it run right. Okay, so it keeps on going up. If it was 9-to-1, so small block Chevrolet, 9-to-1, non-intercooled race gas. It was crazy because I couldn't hardly believe it, but I kept on doing it, kept on checking plugs. Thing we ran for a few years like that. Could be 40. LOL. All right? Could be. All right, and now for the infamous Coyote engine. What do you need to have for timing for your Coyote? Coyote, okay. I don't care, ask Brett LaSalle. None of my business. I don't build Coyote engines, so there. Now, gonna end this whole video here. Remember the Trailblazer? For just $5 for everything purchased on the merchandise store, including the best AN wrenches you're gonna get, wheelie bar wrench, cool double-sided Zeus tool, t-shirts, posters, all this other cool stuff. For every $5 you purchase, you can get an entry to win a 1,000 horsepower Trailblazer SS. You wanna see more about this? Shoot, all you gotta do is just go back a couple videos. Anyways, I'm Steve Morris. Have a great day. Remember, like, subscribe, tell me what you think about this video. And remember, Thursday, 7 p.m., we're gonna be really trying to stick on a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, 7 p.m. Be there, be square.